With Frank recently celebrating a birthday.
Yeah, like
recently
yesterday.
As yesterday. We decided today that we would dive into one of the most ambitious and influential aging studies in the world, the 90-plus study. It was launched in 2003. The 90-plus study set out to explore the fastest growing age group in the United States, those aged 90 and older. With over 1,600 participants, many of whom were originally part of a 1980s era survey of residents in a Southern California retirement community, this long-running study has helped scientists ask a vital question. What does it take to not just live longer, but to live better? To tell us more about the study, we welcome Dr. Claudia Kawas. She is a retired professor of neurobiology and behavior at the School of Biological Science at UC Irvine and a head researcher for the 90-plus study. I had the privilege of talking to her before on another one of our shows, and I am thrilled to have her back with us today. Hello there, Dr. Kawas.
Hello.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me back. And first of all, belated happy birthday, Frank.
Thank you so much. And saying that, I really appreciate that. The fastest growing age group is 90 plus. Compared to what? That just doesn't seem right.
So it almost doesn't really matter if you compare it to anybody below the age of 90. They're faster growing than the 80 to 90-year-olds, faster growing than the 70 to 80-year-olds. I mean, part of that is that people rarely lived to be in their 90s or 100 before. I mean, in 1900, life expectancy was 49 years for women and 47 years for men. And we've added a lot to life expectancy. And now we have a population of individuals who we never really had before. You know, in the old days, the President of the United States would handwrite a birthday card to every centenarian in the United States. That could happen now.
That took 20 minutes, right?
The part of the study that fascinates me the most is when we get into dementia and Alzheimer's, and what you folks realized or started to realize by having this unique group of people you could study. Unlike most of the time where after death, then they looked at the brains and determined whether someone had Alzheimer's or dementia or not. But your study could look at them while they were still alive and then examine those brains. And you found some, I don't know if it's conflicting evidence or a different approach to it than simply tangles and plaques being the cause.
Absolutely. I think the most significant finding, as an umbrella finding that we realize now, is that it's not all Alzheimer's disease. That, in fact, there are really a remarkable number and variety of things that are related to dementia. And as we get older, you have more and more of those. So on average, 70% of all of the individuals who died, and let us look at their brains so far, 70% of them had not one, not two, but three or more dementia-related pathologies.
But they themselves weren't, a lot of them were not living with dementia in their later years.
And that's absolutely the most important thing to notice, too. We have always, mostly looked at the brains of people who have bad thinking or dementia. And just to get our terms straight, by dementia, I mean a loss of cognitive abilities of sufficient severity to make it difficult to do your activities. And it usually involves memory, but it has to also involve other things like language or calculations. And dementia, the difference I'm asked between that and Alzheimer's disease, well, dementia is a syndrome. It's like a headache. And it can be caused by more than 100 different things, of which Alzheimer's disease is one.
So how do we live our best life then? Because you're suggesting.
Well, I mean, I don't want to be trite, but I mean, for starters, we need a lot more research into the other contributing causes of dementia in this age group. So I don't think very many people, if any, on this podcast will have heard the term late. But I think they're going to be hearing that in coming years. It was a recently defined pathologic cause of dementia. It's highly associated with aging, and It turns out, and associated with a very different protein than amyloids and tangles, which are what's in Alzheimer's disease. It's associated with TDP. And it turns out it accounts for almost as much dementia as Alzheimer's disease in our 90-year-olds.
Well, I always hear exercise, keep that up.
That's what I was going to ask.
And get
Dr.
away from
Kawas,
alcohol.
when looking at 90-plus-year-olds, when you're looking at how important is lifestyle when you're in your 70s and your 80s, what do you recommend people to do? You examined this large group of people. So what do you recommend that we do to be living our best life in our 90s?
Well, I'm not. I can tell you what we found in the study, which is that the first thing we looked at is we had 14,000 people on whom we had some lifestyle information, whether or not they took vitamins, how much they exercised, whether or not the women took estrogen. And that was all obtained in the early 80s when these individuals were on average 72 years old. And we took a look at all those lifestyle factors. We thought maybe that individuals, for example, who took vitamin E and C and A might live longer than individuals their same age who didn't. And that wasn't related to living longer.
Okay.
We looked at all sorts of things, calcium, green tea, colas, none of which was related to longevity. The one thing that came glaring out, exercise.
Exercise.
As little as 15 minutes a day was associated with longer life. 30 minutes was better. 45 minutes was the best. And fortunately for couch potatoes, anything above 45 minutes didn't seem to add too much.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Good to know.
So 45 minutes. Now, was there anything when you're looking at exercise? I want to take it even more step further in. Was it a type of exercise? Is walking 45 minutes a day enough? Should people be hitting their 10,000 steps? Or is weightlifting?
Or
You hear a lot about weightlifting.
Swimming.
So we had limited data, from what was
Sure.
people collected back in the 80s when they had less interest in it. So, I mean, I don't think you should take this as definitive, but we were able to find the effect basically with any and all put together. It didn't have to be highly intensely aerobic, for example. It didn't have to be running 45 minutes. We added the times together. So if they reported 15 minutes of walking and 15 minutes of doing some kind of exercises and 15 minutes of gardening, we added all that time together. So it didn't have to be contiguous either. I think it mostly is using your body.
Yeah.
And the older you get, the more important it becomes.
Something that I took away from our last conversation and all this is people want to point to different factors, drinking alcohol or not drinking alcohol, listening to music, not listening to music. And what I took away from it overall was that it was the people that remained socially engaged more so than what these individual behaviors were led to longevity and more and less cognitive decline. If they were engaged in life, if they saw people and interacted, that was, am I taking the right thing from this study?
You absolutely are. I mean, for starters, when we looked at longevity, we also looked at non-exercise activities. Once again, lumping them all together. For every hour that somebody spent engaged in an activity, many of which, not all of which, were socially active, some of which were cognitively active, but for every hour, we found a longevity advantage, and we took that out to 8 hours a day. So I think that even the alcohol effect that we and many individuals have found in studies is probably confounded, at least in part, by the social engagement that often goes along with alcohol intake.
So
We found an association with alcohol intake, but you only had to do it a couple of times a month.
So let me ask you this. The 45 minutes of exercise would help keep your weight down. But saying that, did obesity play a part in longevity? Because we are an obese nation.
Well, now we have GLP-1s.
So,
Well, I do. What about you?
Yes, doctor.
absolutely, obesity is not good for longevity.
Right.
So we even took a look at individuals who had been obese in the study at age 21, but had since lost the weight, and they had excess mortality. So it's not never good to be obese. Having said that, what we found, and really many, many studies have found, is that as you age, it is important to maintain or even gain a little weight. So individuals in their 90s who are classified as overweight by their BMI actually have no reduction in mortality compared to individuals who are normal weight.
And lift
They
some
may
weight. Lift some
have
weight.
an advantage.
We're talking plump, not obese, correct?
Yeah, and keep in mind, I mean, think about how we calculate this, which is basically a BMI is a calculation based on height and weight. And as you age and you lose height, and especially, 95-year-old women have lost a lot of height, then staying the same weight technically makes your BMI go up.
Yeah.
So I think what's bad is weight loss, and underweight individuals in their 90 had the highest mortality rate by far.
Last thing before we let you go quickly, I'm curious if people are already experiencing these reduced cognitive behaviors. They've entered into dementia and Alzheimer's. Are there things that your study shows that can start to at least slow it or bring us back some, or is the ship has sailed?
No, I think that one of the main things we've realized is that healthy lifestyle matters at all levels. It matters when you're young. It matters even more maybe when you're older, and certainly it doesn't stop mattering when you have cognitive problems. So continuing to engage and do exercise and eat healthily and enjoy social and other relationships.
You've given me hope. Thank you.
Dr. Kawas, I cannot wait till we get to speak again. Always a joy.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.